You know what happened is the prophet, seer, and revelator at the time wisely realized maybe we meant well with this policy, asking married couples what they're doing in the bedroom, inquiring, right? But it ended up causing them greater harm, divorced families and kids with no divorced parents. So they quickly and wisely realized that it was maybe the intention was good, but it was not a good policy, President Nelson. It can be done. It needs to be changed. And I'm going to say the same thing. Why didn't you do that the same thing, with these worthiness kids? You knew it was wrong to dig so intimately in people's lives with direct questions amongst married couples, but somehow you didn't see the importance of that amongst children. It was harming married couples' relationships, but somehow you didn't see it was harming children. But guess what? Now you know better, because you got thousands of mental health professionals, which I can give you the list of every single one of their names, that will tell you that these worthiness interviews are harmful. These are mental health professionals that do this professionally, and they hear the stories of all the harm being caused by these worthiness interviews. They also have the formal training that describes why these worthiness interviews are harmful to the children's mental health. So we're in a new world past 1978, and truthfully, I wonder why, after the Kip Eliason lawsuit, a child died. It was clear, and you guys got sued over that, didn't you, President Nelson? You know that. And the only reason why the church didn't lose that lawsuit is because a bishop doesn't know any better, right? A bishop is untrained, and he didn't know any better. You know this, President Nelson. Have you done your homework? If you haven't, then you're a lax learner. I've done the research. The only reason the church did not lose is because the bishop was untrained. He was not a mental health professional.
But he has the gift of discernment.
But he has the gift of discernment. You know how much more harm that places on a person? I remember going into interviews as a small child, 12, 13-year-old, and as soon as I got in the door to sit down, and you say, Brian, I have the gift of discernment. And I'm like, oh, wow. So now it's not just, there's no room to even lie anymore. I mean, this is Satan's plan, the pressure and the coercion to do the right thing. This is not what this is about. We're here to learn and to progress from our mistakes, not to be coerced into perfection. And when he's telling you you have the gift of discernment, that just added one more layer of harm to my mental health as a child. And I wonder how many other people were harmed by that statement, the gift of discernment, right? It's an inappropriate invasion into the mental development of a child. It's out of place. But back to that Kip Eliason lawsuit where he was, the bishop, they gave him, and he sent him to the mental health professional, so he also got sued. It was a Nelson Cantrell, I think was his name. He also was named in the lawsuit. And you know who did lose that lawsuit and had to pay a heavy settlement? Yeah, the mental health professional, because he knew better, but he followed church policy instead of following, what was known as a good practice, and so President Nelson, have you done the homework on this? The church was sued. But yet, and you guys even named it out. Your defense was the bishop did not know what he was doing. He was not a trained professional. That was your defense, and you got off the hook on that. So why, if that's your defense, why don't you apply that knowledge as you're working this out in your mind and heart as instructed by Scripture and say, you know what? We even ourselves acknowledged he wasn't trained. He didn't know what maybe we need to take another path and get some training. If we're going to have bishops do these interviews, we need to get them some more training where he does know better. Do you know why you wouldn't do that? Does anybody know why?
Yeah.
Church attorneys. Because if he's a trained professional and he knows better, he knows how to give good interviews. Now, when you get into the Kip Eliason lawsuit again, they're going to say, look, your bishop was trained and he didn't follow his training. Now the church will get sued. So instead, you prefer that your bishops and stake presidents to be ignorant and to not know better, to not know when they're doing serious harm to the mental health of children, to not understand the principle of first, do no harm. I want you to do a survey of your bishops and ask them if they've even heard of that term before. First, do no harm. Right? You know about that because you're a doctor, President Nelson. You know exactly what that is. It's an ethical aspect of medical training. But how many of your bishops have not been medically trained? They don't know. But yet you're going to use that as the defense in a lawsuit. President Nelson, you got to give some more people at the table a seat at the table besides church attorneys. Because in following simply church attorneys, children are being harmed. Children are dying. Children are dying.